Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is June 11th, 2025, and today we're going to be talking about all the Barcelona exits that are expected during this summer transfer market. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and as I reported in a previous video, Deco will be meeting with Barcelona players in the upcoming days and weeks with players that Barcelona plan to offload, so Deco can tell them face to face, hey, we do not count on you and we will be offloading you during this summer transfer market. And as you know, Barcelona have already completed two exits, the first one being Alex Valle to Como for 6 million euros. And the second exit is Clément Lenglet, who Barcelona terminated his contract, and now he has signed with Atletico Madrid on a permanent transfer. Now, the next four players are players that Barcelona hope to offload in the next few upcoming weeks, starting with Uriel Romero. Yes, Uriel Romero, who we all forgot existed, but the 33-year-old midfielder just spent last season on loan with Girona. Girona have not exercised their option to purchase the player, so he will be coming back to Barcelona. And it's reported that Deco is set to meet with Uriel Romero in the upcoming days in order to figure out an exit for the player, because Girona again have not exercised any option to buy the player. They're saying that Girona are not completely ruling out the possibility of signing him, but for now they're not making any moves. So Deco will meet with Uriel Romero to see what can be done. Now, it's reported that the player is completely open to leaving the club. He knows he's not going to be getting minutes. In fact, last summer, Flick wanted to try out Romero during the preseason, but Romero saw that his position is pretty stacked. He knew he wasn't going to be getting minutes, so he himself opted to leave. So Romero is not going to be a hindrance. He's not going to make anything difficult for the club. He will be facilitating his exit, and he's set to meet with Deco. Now, it's reported that there are foreign options that Romero could be exploring. For example, in Turkey, where they previously had interest in signing Romero, so he could go to the Turkish league. But of course, that meeting with Deco will be key to see where Uriel Romero will go next, which his contract, by the way, expires next summer in 2026. So Barcelona will either be looking to offload him on a permanent transfer and make a little bit of money, or maybe terminating his contract so he can leave for free, or send him out on loan, which eventually would also mean leaving for free, because when his loan expires, he would become a free agent. Now, the second player that Barcelona will be looking to offload during the next few weeks is Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati, which Barcelona have already reached an agreement to transfer the player to Monaco for a one-season loan, where Monaco are going to have an option to buy the player for 40 million euros at the end of next season. And this agreement is mostly complete, and it's reported that Barcelona have a deadline. Well, not just Barcelona, but the player too. They both have a deadline to offload this player, and that deadline is by June 30th. Now, why June 30th? Well, as far as the club, because they want to remove the salary of Ansu Fati off their books, because he has a pretty big salary, and June 30th is the end of the fiscal year. And as far as for the player, he wants to be gone by June 30th for tax purposes, because in Monaco, you have to be there. You have to be, if you're a resident for 6 months, then your taxes are lower. So if he leaves before June 30th, by the end of the year, he would have been there for 6 months, so his taxes would be lower. Say if he goes there July 1st, so the player wants to move to Monaco before June 30th for tax purposes. Barcelona want him to go before June 30th for financial fair play purposes. So this move is expected to be completed pretty soon. Now, they're saying that they're still finalizing the salary, because Monaco can only pay Ansu Fati 4 million euros net, or 8 million euros gross. So that means that remainder Barcelona would have to cover. So Barcelona kind of try to convince Monaco to up the amount that they can cover by salary, and at the same time trying to convince Ansu Fati to lower his salary expectations. That way Barcelona doesn't have to pay anything. We'll see what the final agreement ends up being. My feeling is that Barcelona will most likely have to cover a part of the player's salary, but of course it will all depend on how the negotiations go. Now, from one attacker, we move on to another attacker because we do have to talk about Pao Victor. Pao Victor, who Barcelona were hoping to send on loan, but it's looking more and more likely that the 22-year-old center forward will end up leaving on a permanent transfer. He has a contract with Barcelona until 2029. He has not gotten any playing or very little playing time this past season, so therefore he will be looking to go somewhere else to get more minutes. And it's reported that Barcelona are open to the idea of transferring Pao Victor on a permanent transfer. However, they do want some control over his future. In other words, they would like to reserve a buyback clause in the player's contract in case he does end up, exploding, becoming a huge star. Then they can, exercise that option and bring him back to Barcelona. And it's reported that Barcelona are expecting around 5 million euros for Pao Victor. At least that's what he's valued at currently. We'll see if that's what Barcelona will be able to get, and we'll see where Pao Victor will end up going. And again, the player will also be meeting with Deco pretty soon to figure out what the next moves are. Now, another player who will be looking to leave Barcelona in search of more minutes will be Pablo Torre, the 22-year-old attacking midfielder whose contract expires in 2026. Barcelona originally were hoping to extend the contract of Pablo Torre because they believe that he has, lots of potential. So they wanted to extend it, then send him out on loan. But it's looking more and more likely that Barcelona are going to end up offloading Pablo Torre on a permanent transfer in order to get some cash to finance some of the transfers that Barcelona are hoping to, or some of the signings that Barcelona are hoping to make during this summer transfer market. So it's looking more and more likely that this could be a permanent transfer. But just like Pao Victor, Barcelona will be looking to include a buyback clause in case, Pablo Torre ends up living up to the expectations that Barcelona had of him when they initially signed him. And of course, Pablo Torre has plenty of options of clubs to pick from, including Sevilla, Girona, Valencia, Osasuna, and even Bayer Leverkusen, all clubs that have showed interest in signing the Barcelona midfielder. Now, Barcelona reportedly will not look to sell Pablo Torre until after the Under-21 European Championship. Why? Because they're hoping that Pablo Torre will end up impressing during the championship and that his value will go up. And that way, Barcelona can offload him for more money. Now, the last player that we do want to talk about, now, of course, there is Mark ter Stegen. I did not mention Mark ter Stegen because we've been talking about Mark ter Stegen for several videos, but obviously Barcelona will be looking to offload ter Stegen too, but of course, he is, for now, refusing to leave. But let's talk about the next player because unlike these four players that we talk about, Ector Forn will actually not be looking to leave Barcelona. Now, Ector Forn did not get much playing time during this season. It seems that the sporting department believe that Ector Forn still needs some growing, some developing, some maturing before he can get more minutes. And with the rise of Eric Garcia, it looked like Ector Forn would get even less minutes next season, with Koundé and Eric Garcia covering that position. And even though it seemed that Ector Forn could leave this summer on a loan, it seems that the player has decided that he will not be leaving Barcelona. He wants to stay in the club. He wants to fight for his spot. And is saying that Ector Forn wants to make it complicated for Hansi Flick. And when I say make Hansi Flick's life complicated, I don't mean wrapping his toilet with saran wrap so he can, pee on himself. What I mean is that Ector Forn wants to, show Hansi Flick that he's a great option, and that way make it difficult for Hansi Flick to pick, who would be the starter or who would be the second right back. That's what I mean by Ector Forn wants to stay and make Hansi Flick's life more complicated. Now, it's reported that Ector Forn has already rejected offers that he's received, including a very tempting offer from Ajax because, again, the player wants to stay and fight for his spot. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. I did do the podcast earlier today. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check it out. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.